We've been following keto, no sugar, low carb, and the current fad that we're all following is intermittent fasting.
Intermittent fasting.
Intermittent fasting, or IF.
You know what? Since I discovered time-restricted eating and intermittent fasting, now I feel better by training with an empty stomach. I feel sharper up here. I feel more creative, especially in jiu-jitsu. I feel better. I feel lighter on my feet.
Really?
Limiting the consumption of calories to 4, 6, or 8, or even 10 hours of every 24-hour cycle, and keeping that more or less correlated with the light, with when the sun is out, leads to less liver disease, improved metabolic markers, less body fat, etc.
You've heard the hype, but here's the truth. Most people are doing intermittent fasting completely wrong. And if you're making these mistakes, you might be better off not doing it at all.
One thing that's really clear with humans is adherence, right? We could talk a lot about nutrition, and some of the problems with the studies on nutrition is that what people will do in a laboratory is often hard to do in the real world.
People think it's a free pass to binge. Fast for 16 hours, then cram 3,000 calories of pizza, fries, and dessert into an 8-hour eating window. That's not fasting. That's skipping breakfast and then overeating later. Today, I'm breaking down exactly what intermittent fasting is, who should do it, how to do it right, and when it could completely backfire on you. Intermittent fasting isn't a diet, it's a timing strategy. Instead of focusing on what you eat, you focus on when you eat. The most popular style is the 16-8 method. Fast for 16 hours, eat in an 8-hour window. There's also an 18-6, a 24, OMAD, which is 1 meal a day, and alternate day fasting. It's been around for centuries, used by monks, ancient civilizations, and even bodybuilders to cut before competitions. When it's done right, intermittent fasting can help with fat loss by lowering insulin levels and making it easier for you to burn fat, improve your insulin sensitivity, lowering your risk for type 2 diabetes, trigger cellular repair, a process called autophagy, where your body cleans out damaged cells, and even boost mental clarity and focus because your energy isn't spiking and crashing from consistent eating.
Yes, I would say there's many potential benefits that have been proposed for both intermittent fasting and even extended fasting. And I think the most obvious and common relate to metabolic health, which would include weight loss, specifically fat loss, improvements in body composition, and insulin sensitivity. But other proposed benefits would probably include the prevention of several chronic diseases. So we would put in here the neurodegenerative diseases, specifically the dementing diseases, and cancer, and also just the holy grail of them all, which is extension of lifespan or reduction of all-cause mortality.
And for some, it's just simpler. Fewer meals, fewer decisions, fewer opportunities to snack on things you shouldn't. Now, one benefit that always gets hyped is autophagy, which is a process where your body cleans out damaged cells and recycles them. And yes, fasting can trigger it, but here's the catch. If you're just doing a 16-8 method, you're probably not hitting the deep autophagy stage. Most research suggests that you need to go at least 24 to 36 hours without calories to get significant autophagy going. And for the big cellular cleanup, it's often closer to 48 to 72 hours. That's why if you're already healthy and you want to supercharge your long-term benefits, consider adding 1 or 2 extended fasts, 48 to 72 hours per year. It's like hitting the reset button for your cells. But this is super important. These longer fasts aren't for beginners. So make sure you talk to your doctor, plan it carefully, and break them the right way. Now, here's where 80% of people screwed up. They think that fasting gives them the permission to eat whatever they want, when they want, during their eating window. If you binge on processed junk, you spike your blood sugar, you overeat calories, and you undo every benefit. It's like washing your car, then immediately driving it through a mud pit.
With intermittent fasting, you're dancing a fine line with an eating disorder. We have to come to terms with that. You go through a period of time where you eat and then you completely don't eat. And that leaves you with the potential to overeat or potentially binge. And as someone that's been doing this for a very long time, I see it happen all the time.
So if you shorten your eating window to whether it's 8 hours of eating, 6 hours of eating, 4 hours of eating, there's a sense of how much damage can I do in a shorter space of time? Well, if you're anything like me, it turns out quite a lot. As with anything I tried, it felt like it was working for a few days, maybe a week. But then at some point, it started to go wrong. I would find that towards the end of my eating window, that scarcity mindset where like after 6 p.m. I'm not going to be allowed to eat anything just drove more eating. So I found that my body often felt uncomfortably full and overwhelmed with food because it was still binging.
Intermittent fasting isn't magic. The real benefit is that it naturally helps you eat less calories. Think of it less like fasting and more like skipping a meal. The key is what you do eat still matters. Focus on whole foods, protein, fiber, and healthy fats. If your eating window is a junk food buffet, you miss the entire point. So fasting isn't for everyone. It can mess with your hormones, especially if you're a female. It can trigger disordered eating for those with a history. If you're not eating enough protein, it could cause muscle loss. And if you're a high performance athlete, you may need steady fuel throughout your day.
I started to see that there was a really clear difference between the results women were getting and the results men were getting. And when I started to dive into that a little deeper, I realized that women got great results at certain points of their cycle. But if they continued to do one meal a day over and over and over again, they actually destroyed their hormones and they started gaining weight. And they started losing their hair. They started having menstrual problems that were pretty severe. If you were in perimenopause and you weren't paying attention to where to fast, all of a sudden you started to see women that were going into menopause way too early.
People say, I want to lose weight. But I've never actually heard somebody say, what I really want to do is lose a lot of muscle and stay as fat as possible. Studies of extended fasting have shown that the ratio of lean mass lost to fat mass lost is very high. Lean losses are typically accounting for 1/2 to 2/3 of total weight loss.
If you want to try intermittent fasting, here's the smart way. Start slow. Start with either a 12-12 or a 14-10 before jumping into a 16-8. Make sure you break your fast with a balanced meal. Protein, veggies, and healthy fats. Stay hydrated. Water, black coffee, even tea doesn't break your fast. Make sure you avoid sugary drinks and processed snacks. Most importantly, listen to your body. If you're dizzy, irritable, or exhausted, make sure you adjust. So the bottom line, intermittent fasting works when you use it right. It's not an excuse to eat whatever you want. It's a tool to help you eat less, eat better, and improve your overall health. Use it to your advantage and avoid the trap that most people fall into, which is binging in disguise. So if you tried intermittent fasting, drop your experience in the comments and make sure you subscribed. Next week, we're going to be breaking down the Paleo diet.